Morning. Welcome to Gimpy's History Corner. I'm called that by my two grandsons, Archie and Ellis. This is an old picture of us at the Conner Prairie in the fall, a little cooler. Archie's just a little guy there, isn't he? Wow. Okay, this is video number 93, and it is from my hit list book. And it is a Dr. Mary Sherman, number 32, out of 50 people who died mysteriously that were connected to the Kennedy assassination. Dr. Sherman lived in New Orleans, and New Orleans was a big area connected to the Kennedy administration. That's where Jim Garrison was the prosecuting attorney in New Orleans, and he put Clay, I can't remember his last name, on trial for being a conspirator in the assassination. And, ended up in a movie called JFK. Well, who was Dr. Mary Sherman, and what did she have to do with the assassination? Well, she was born Mary Carolyn Stultz on April 21st, 1913, in Evanston, Illinois, nowhere near New Orleans. Her parents were music educators. Her early interests were opera. She studied opera in Paris. Wow. High school in Evanston Township near Chicago. And college, she earned degrees in French at Northwestern. Remember, Paris, opera, French language at Northwestern, which is near Chicago. Her graduate work were medical studies at the University of Chicago. And in medical school, again, she went back to the University of Chicago, 1937, and graduated at the top of her class. Smart lady. Her postgraduate research was on botanical viruses. Yikes. And during her graduate work, she married a guy named Thomas Sherman, so she became Dr. Mary Sherman. Okay, here we get involved with the assassination part. Moved to New Orleans in 1952 to become director of the Cancer Research Lab of the Ochsner Clinic Medical Foundation. Okay, this was the part that gets freaky. Some think that Ochsner was involved in covert research on biological weapons for the government. Yep, here we go. Cancer-causing viruses and radiation to create fast-acting cancer to use in political assassinations, which means it's all funded by your friend and mine, CIA. Remember Jack Ruby, who was the guy who assassinated Lee Harvey Oswald, who was accused of assassinating President Kennedy, was in jail, had gone on trial, was found guilty, and his lawyers appealed to a higher court and was given a new trial. And he was about to start talking, supposedly, but he wasn't allowed to speak by his attorney in the first trial. But word was that he would start talking in his second trial. But he died mysteriously and quickly of cancer. And he had been visited by a doctor who worked for the CIA named Jolly West. And the theory is that he introduced this fast-acting cancer from Dr. Sherman's research. And it killed Jack Ruby before he could get his second trial. Don't know. That's been the mystery. So that's the connection of Jack Ruby's sudden and rapid cancer to Dr. Sherman's research lab. Now it's Warren Commission time. And the Warren Commission knows that New Orleans has lots of witnesses and information that might connect to the assassination. So they sent investigators down there. And the first day they show up, Dr. Sherman is found murdered in her apartment in New Orleans, July 21st, 1964. She's found stabbed and burned, the stab wound to the heart and post-mortem stab wounds. Her right arm was missing, had been reduced to a charred stump. What? Right side of her chest burned away, exposing organs. Wow. Despite all these burns, the apartment showed little signs of fire. How's that possible? So the police theorized that she was actually burned and murdered somewhere else and brought back to her apartment. But I'm not sure why they would do that. Possibly she was murdered at her job and they didn't want to connect her to the lab somehow. So they put her in her apartment, put her back in the apartment. No sign of a break-in. The fire damage to the body was more similar to industrial level heat than just an apartment fire. So the theory was that she was murdered or had an industrial accident at the lab and then was brought back and stabbed to make it look like a murder. So whoever they were trying to get police interest away from the lab because they knew the CIA was involved with the lab and they didn't want to get involved with that. And the other connection is Lee Harvey Oswald, the accused assassin, was seen around the lab as a courier. And also a guy named David Ferry, who was very involved in the assassination as a CIA operative who was an airline pilot, a small engine pilot, and flew lots of flights back and forth from New Orleans to Cuba. Yep, Cuba. There we go again. So Oswald and Ferry were buddies in New Orleans, and there was lots of stuff going on with the ex-Cuban refugees, New Orleans, Miami, and Cuba. And supposedly there was a guy living in the same apartment complex as Dr. Sherman, who was one of the Cuban refugees. And Oswald visited him frequently. So, very mysterious. What happened to this CIA doctor creating instant, fast-acting cancer used by the CIA for assassinations? Well, originally it was meant their number one target was Fidel Castro in Cuba, but they obviously never got to him. And one theory is they worked it to get rid of Jack Ruby before he could talk. Because Jack Ruby assassinated Lee Harvey Oswald right in front of all of us. And Jack Ruby had mafia ties, connections to the police. Crazy. So, The theory is Sherman worked for the CIA to create fast-acting biological weapons, a quick cancer, and it was used to kill Jack Ruby in Dallas. The CIA was afraid she would talk to the Warren Commission, so they killed her and David Ferrie. David Ferrie died of supposed brain aneurysm. But I don't know. Could that be manufactured somehow from something else? Oswald had been ID'd as a lone gunman, and Jack Ruby had killed Oswald. And to keep her from talking about the cancer research, they killed her. But Dr. Oshner was never killed. Couldn't he have talked about the same thing? So there's holes in that theory, obviously. She wasn't the only one working at this clinic. So if they really wanted to find out, couldn't they have gone to the clinic and talked to other people about Jolly West and the CIA research? But it is mysterious, where was she killed? Probably wasn't at her apartment. Where was she killed and why was she killed? This doctor, Dr. Mary Sherman. She's on the hit list, number 32. Mary Sherman. Okay, that's the mystery for today. Our Bengals had the win, gave up a huge long touchdown in the final seconds of the game. What are you thinking? Come on. Well, okay. Everyone have a great day despite the Bengals.